money, oh.
Too much for this country. But before you eat, you go suffer. The suffering is too much. Please, make a find solution for this. It's too much. Gary 2,000 naira. This is why my father bought me. I'm not.
Oh, come on. Ask boy, no shit, Lord. Hippa, food no day for boys to focus. Price no day, even carry cost. Slim trouser don't turn to bogus. Hunger go kill person for Lagos. I dey slim them talks in a gym. It's too hard for this kind regime. Us are they no food to treat them. Hunger go kill person for Lagos. Jehovah, when will this pain be over? I dey pray hard and I dey pay tight too. Hunger still dey hold me tight. Hunger dey, oh. Hunger dey, oh. It be like say them they use us play games. Hunger games. I dey fear. I don't want mention names. You will want use 1.5 billion. Build borehole will be 5 million. You will they chop our money, oh. Private jets with the money, oh.
But before you eat, you go suffer. The suffering is too much. Please, make a find solution for this. It's too much. Gary 2,000 naira. This is why my father bought me. I'm not.
Oh, come on. Ask boy, no shit, Lord. Hippa, food no day for boys to focus. Price no day, even carry cost. Slim trouser don't turn to bogus. Hunger go kill person for Lagos. I dey slim them talks in a gym. It's too hard for this kind regime. Us are they no food to treat them. Hunger go kill person for Lagos. Jehovah, when will this pain be over? I dey pray hard and I dey pay tight too. Hunger still dey hold me tight. Hunger dey, oh. Hunger dey, oh. It be like say them they use us play games. Hunger games. I dey fear. I don't want mention names. You will want use 1.5 billion. Build borehole will be 5 million. You will they chop our money, oh. Private jets with the money, oh.
But before you eat, you go suffer. The suffering is too much. Please, make a find solution for this. It's too much. Gary 2,000 naira. This is why my father bought me. I'm not.
Oh, come on. Ask boy, no shit, Lord. Food no day for boys to focus. Price no day even carry cost. Skin trouser don't turn to bogus. Hunger go kill person for Lagos. I dey slim them talk say na gym. Things too hard for this kind regime. Us are there no food to treat tabo. Hunger go kill person for Lagos. Jehovah, when will this pain be over? I dey pray hard and I dey pay tight too. Hunger still dey owe me tight. Hunger dey, hunger dey, oh. Hunger dey, hunger dey, oh. Hunger dey, hunger dey. Like say then they use us play games, hunger games. I dey fear, I don't want mention names. You will want use 1.5 billion, build borehole will be 5 million. You will they chop our money, oh. Private jets with the money, oh.
Before you eat, you go suffer. The suffering is too much. Please, make a find solution for this disease. It's too much. Gary 2,000 naira. Since when my father bought me,
Oh, come on, no. Ask boy, no shit, Lord. Hippa. Food no day for boys to focus. Price no day even carry cost. Skin trouser don't turn to bogus. Hunger go kill person for Lagos. I dey slim them talk say na gym. Things too hard for this kind regime. Us are there no food to treat tabo. Hunger go kill person for Lagos. Jehovah, when will this pain be over? I dey pray hard and I dey pay tight too. Hunger still dey owe me tight. Hunger dey, oh. Hunger dey, hunger dey, oh. Like say then they use us play games, hunger games. I dey fear, I don't want mention names. You will want use 1.5 billion, build borehole will be 5 million. You will they chop our money, oh. Private jets with the money, oh. Boys to focus. Price no day even carry cost. Skin trouser don't turn to bogus. Hunger go kill person for Lagos. I dey slim them talk say na gym.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. It's another time for Impact 45. To our followers, to our fans, for those of you that you've been with us from day one, we want to say thank you. I'm Adesoye Adegoke, and we are here today with another episode of Impact 45. So today we have a special person with us here in the house. We are blessed to have his presence here with us. And today we'll be having Pastor Bankole Adefemi Oluwajana. But before I go ahead to tell us who Pastor Bankole is, with me here would also be having Pastor Adebayo Hussein here with us. So let me go ahead to tell us how blessed we are with this man that is our guest today in the house. Pastor Bankole is a lawyer, is a politician, and a minister of the gospel. I just want to give us a brief introduction about Pastor Bankole. Before going private, he was the counsel with Nigerian Industry Development, now known as Bank of Industry. And in 20 in 2003, Pastor Bankole Oluwajana ventured into politics and strategically secured the confidence of the then governor of Ondo State, popularly known as Chief Adebayo Adefarati. This Chief Adebayo Adefarati was or is Pastor Bankole's mentor. He appointed Pastor Bankole a special advisor in 2007, and Pastor Bankole emerged as the governorship candidate of Alliance for Democracy in Ondo State. This is the portfolio of this great man that we'll be having with us here. Pastor Bankole, good evening to you, sir. Can you hear us, please?
Mr. Adegoke, can you hear me?
Hello, Pastor. Yes, I can hear you. Good evening to you, sir.
Oh, good evening and happy Sunday to you.
Happy Sunday to you. It's good to see you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes, I know you'll be wondering why am I saying it's good to see you again. You were one of our guest speakers for Impact 2023. 2022.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, if I'm correct, you are a guest speaker for 2022, and you enlightened us. You gave us a word of wisdom. So it's good to have you on. Have you here today again. And I'm quite sure that at the end of today's program, you would download or endow us with a lot of knowledge today, as you did for us that day. So welcome very.
Thank you so
much.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay. So this is Impact 45. As you know, it's a program where it happens once in a year, but we've seen the impact of it, and we've seen how much we've been able to contribute to the community. And that's why we decided to say, okay, this program, instead of having it once in a year, we can have it once in a month, so people can see. And specifically with the situation of our country, the situation of the economy currently, it's time to bring people to be involved in what's happening. And that's one of the things we'll be discussing today. So quickly, sir, if I may ask, is it fine with you to address you with Pastor Bankole? Is that fine with you, sir?
Oh, that is great. Thank you so much. That's great. That's okay.
All right, sir.
That is okay.
So in one or two words, all right, thank you, sir. In one or two words, what would you call the current economic situation of Nigeria? What can you describe the current economic situation of Nigeria? What can you describe it as?
Mr. Adegoke, I'm sure it will be more than one or two words, and I will explain to you why. In recent time,
all right, sir.
Yes, in recent time, I've been able to understand what is the foundation for the problems that we are having as a nation and as an individual. But before I speak on that, what we are going through is what we have always been going through. Let me repeat that. There's nothing new. There's nothing strange in the economic challenges that we are facing now. We have had it before, and I will tell you how. The unfortunate thing is that we are going to have it again and again, no matter who is in government. I said we have had it before, because when I was very young, when I was much younger, about 50 years ago, we had a musician who released a record, and that record summarized the situation of things at the time. And what is that song? In Yoruba, Ìlú le o, kò sówó lóde, ìlú le o, kò sówó lóde, obìnrin kígbe, ọkùnrin kígbe, and on and on. In English, country is very hard. Everybody is crying. Men and women are complaining. That song will be very ideal also for this present time. In another 20 years, another 30 years, we are going to sing that song again and again until we discover the purpose for which God created Nigeria. And that is why I'm starting with this, because it's very, very important. Not long ago, so a few years ago, there was another song. It was when Obasanjo was the president. And I remember Obasanjo quarreled with that particular young musician. In Nigeria, Jaga Jaga, Nigeria, Jaga Jaga. It's the same song that will fit for a time like this. So the issue of Nigerian economy goes beyond the understanding of the economist. It goes beyond the grammar of trying to talk about, oh, production, no production, this the exchange rate of naira to a dollar is deeper than that. And I don't want that one to distract us this evening, but I'll just give you an inroad to that by saying one or two words. That one, God has created every human being for a purpose. God has also created every nation for a purpose. The tragedy is that individuals, more than 90%, don't actually know the purpose for which God has created them. And that is why, as an individual, even when you are rich, unless you are on purpose, you will live a life of stress. You will live a life of prayer. Let me just leave that aside, because that is not what I want to talk about. As a nation, God has created every nation of the world for a purpose. And because that is not the focus this evening, let me quickly say this, that God created Europe, America for a purpose. God created Africa for a purpose. God created Nigeria, West Africa for a purpose. The truth of the matter is that we are far away from that purpose. So far away from that purpose. When you are not working according to the purpose of God for your nation, for your life as an individual, then you'll be a victim of corruption, you'll be a victim of maladministration, you'll be a victim of fraud. And if it's not going to get too complicated, I'm convinced that God created the so-called developed countries of old, America and Europe, for what their forefathers started doing. That is, creating machines, having telephone, having motor vehicles. Unfortunately, those early investors now recruited the others as slaves to work for them. That is why over there, you find people working, but they take care of their workers, like I put them in a quarter. They take care of them, make sure they have a vehicle, make sure they have a house to live on. But ask them, 80% of them, at the end of the month of comfortable living, they don't have $100, $200 in their savings. So they're going to work in servitude for this capitalists. So a majority of them, even in that land, are not working according to the purpose of God for their life. Now, at a point in time, when the people came to Africa on voyage, they discovered that they could get people to work for them without having to make those people comfortable. That is the beginning of slavery. But quickly, to let you know the relevance of what I'm saying, by the time they now came to Africa, they changed everything from Africa. The last person in my lineage that ever had a farm was my great-grandfather. My father was educated. Therefore, it was in his head that go and get a job, get paid. At 60, you retire, or 55 at that time, you retire, and then you are paying a paltry sum for the rest of life. So that caught up with people like me, that by the time I left the university, I applied for 5 jobs. The 5 jobs are not in any way connected. I applied to the immigration, I applied to the police, I applied to one insurance company, I applied to banking, and I applied to one legal firm. When the letters came, I never actually asked God the purpose. So I look at them, I picked the bank because that was the one that gave me the highest salary, and they were prepared to give me a car immediately. and that made me comfortable. So I started going on that course. That might not be the course that God wanted for me. Even as a general manager in a bank, when I was well paid, I was afraid that I might lose my job in a month's time and there will be nothing for me to feed on. Now, what is happening in Nigeria is that 95% of us, we have left the purpose of which God has created us. We are looking for money. People are focusing on having money to make a living or having money to own houses and have become billionaire. And that may not be the purpose of which God has created them. So the strife is going to continue. When that is your focus, you begin to look for money, for corruption. You begin to steal money. Don't let us deceive ourselves. Those of us that are talking, including people in churches and mosques, if they have access to governance, they also reason the same way. Forget about, in spite of all the caution, we Christians, for instance, want to say that, oh, Christians should be in government. Christians should be in government. Things will get better. We are deceiving ourselves. I remember when I was going to contest in those states. Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
I will round up in 2 minutes.
Thank you. We really appreciate your going. Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. In 2 minutes, I will leave that and we can go on course. So when I was going to contest in those states, I went to that DGO, that is Pastor Adeboye, and he said, oh, well, when Christians are going to this, well, it's okay, but I'm afraid. And he gave me examples of people that were very fervent in fellowship, very fervent in Christian fellowship, that as soon as they got to power, they forgot about everything. That was possible because we are looking for money, we are looking for sustenance, we are looking for wealth. I think I'll just leave it like that. So the economic problem we are having, I'm thinking beyond the permutation of the economies. I'm thinking beyond putting a blame somewhere that because production is low, because the Nigerians are not working, that will continue to be so until we face the area that God really wants us to face. I'm sorry I've taken your time on that. I really apologize for that. Over to you, Mr. Legoke.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Pastor Bankole.
Yeah, let me quickly ask you this question as a follow-up of your explanation. Yes. Let me ask you this question as a follow-up to your explanation, sir. You know, you when you are talking about when we still have politicians that have conscience, politicians that have feelings for people, that's when you are talking about. Now I'm looking at it. You were in politics. You are a lawyer. And you are a pastor. How were you able to combine these three personalities as a pastor, as a lawyer, and as a politician? How were you able to combine these three personalities? And when we know the murky waters of politics.
Thank you, Pastor. No, I always describe myself as a politician on divine assignment. A politician on divine assignment. I happen to be an unusual politician. I think God decided to lead me that way so that I could find out some things about politics. Why? Because there will be professionals, there will be Christians that want to go into politics. When God has given you that assignment, God will give you the special grace and the enablement to be able to do it. Number one, your focus will not be on the things that people normally focus on. And yet, God made it possible for me to get to certain positions in politics that I knew it wasn't my political, why do I put it? That I'm such a capacity, or I'm such a politician that I have such experience that I could have gotten that far. For me to have been national vice chairman of APC, if you know me very well, sir, I don't like crowd. I just don't like crowd. And that's very much unlike a politician. Yes. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We are hearing you, sir.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Hello, Pastor Cole.
Hello, sir. Can you hear us?
Wow.
Okay. So it seems that Pastor Bankole has, so he has network interruption. So, but in the meantime, before Pastor Bankole joins us, Pastor Adiba is saying welcome. Is good to have you here again. So, I was going to ask a question. So, Pastor Bankole made mention about, people, the Europeans using Africans as slaves.
Yeah, can you see me
So, but
now?
that leads me to when we look at. Oh, welcome back, Pastor Bankole.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, let me quickly finish that.
Yes.
So, God
All
gave
right,
me
okay.
that unusual grace to be able
Yes,
to
sir.
combine both without falling foul of my standard as a Christian. God put me in as the national vice chair of APC because I wanted him to see what was going on in the inner of politics. As a candidate of AD, the fellow I defeated in the primary was probably one of the most, if not the most experienced politician at the time. That is the father of President and Senator Adegbomire Niyi. We call him Omaekun. Omaekun, those are the major followers of Chief Awolowo. Who is Oluwajana, a young man to have defeated Omaekun. But God created that way because God wanted me to have an experience in the campaign and the kind of risk that goes on with it. So I was on a divine assignment. And for me, that wasn't difficult for me. At that point in time, I was actually a pastor in the parish of Redeemed Christian Church of God that we call the True Vine, Maryland. I would leave Akure at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. and by 8 o'clock, I will be in the church on Sunday. And I only missed the church only once. And that was the Friday, that was the Sunday following the election. I was able to cope. When I look back now, it's like, oh God, how could that be possible? With all the risk,
and that's the question,
with all the things involved. So God gave that special grace because I was on an assignment.
Thank you for that answer. Sir, you were once upon a time in 2003 a private person. When I say a private person, you are the company secretary of Now Merchant Bank and you are legal advisor. If you want to combine that with your being public office, what is your advice for people that are planning to leave their private practice into politics? What's the experience and what is the learning course?
Pastor, you'll be shocked to hear from me, and I hope people will not be put off in their ambition, but I'll give them the right way. I find it so difficult now, if you ask me, that a Christian or a committed Muslim, because they also have their standard, which standard of moral, which is good, or a professional, that should I go into politics? I find it difficult to say yes or no. I find it difficult to say yes, because when I look back and see the risk, the amount of commitment, the amount of sacrifice, the amount of expedition involved, I will be scared. Then again, I find it difficult to say no, because I know that Nigeria is like a country where professors are parked in a bus and they give the key to a madman to drive them. So if occasionally I see a man that is saying he wants to go into politics, I am excited to say, oh, please go into it, because I know, you'll be shocked, sir, that the standard in the corridor of power is very, very low and very poor. In fact, one of the gifts you must have when you are leaving a professional field to join politics, you must have the ability to tolerate fools gladly. Let me repeat that. You must have the ability to tolerate fools gladly. You must have the ability, the capacity to lower your standard in terms of expectation so that you can mingle with these people. Don't forget that politics is a game of number. Even a madman, if he can find his way to polling booths on the election day, his vote we can't. When you get there, you could have been a general manager in a bank. You suddenly discover that the man that has the political power never went to school. Don't forget that we have so many governors who actually didn't have your own type of education. In fact, there are question marks placed on many of them on their qualification. Don't forget that many of them have very, 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 very shadowy background. Many of them were poor performance when you were in school. And yet, these are the people that have the power. These are the people you have to succumb to when you get to politics. So you must have the ability to tolerate fools gladly and be able to hide your standard while you are trying to get to the scheme. So there's a difference between the corporate world, the environment of religion, and also politics. And I will cite just 3 things quickly. You know, by virtue of my profession as a lawyer, and by virtue of the fact that I'm a pastor in the church, we preach humility. As a lawyer, you are supposed to be a conservative person. A lawyer is not supposed to like advertisement. That is exactly what we are taught in the law school. As a lawyer, you are not expected to have a board showing your name or a card that is too big that shows you advertising. But politics is different. In politics, you have to advertise, you have to show yourself. Humility is not for politics, because in the church, we are taught that when you enter the church, you stay back unless you are invited to come forward. Yes. But in politics, you don't stay back. Once you enter, you go front and even try to sit in the front seat. And even when they challenge you, tell them on what basis. What gives that man the ability to stay here and I cannot stay there? I remember there was a time when Chief Bola Ige and the strong man in Ibadan, what is his name now? They were meeting. Yes. So they didn't invite him to the high table. That's the strong man. Bola Ige and Co, they were on the high table. The man he waited for them to finish the introduction. When they finished, just asked somebody to carry his seat. He joined them on the high table. And that is politics. So you must have the ability to be able to manage this. And I will mention one other thing. You know, if you are coming from a corporate world, in church environment, you talk of credibility. You cannot tolerate someone that is not straightforward, someone that is not reliable, that is not honest. In politics, you have to manage it very well. In fact, that was one of the mistakes I made in politics. I gave somebody 200,000 naira to give someone, and the fellow delivered only 150,000. He kept the 50,000 out of the money. I got to know, so I got annoyed. When I saw him, I confronted him. I said, look, why will you do that? It shows you are not a straightforward man. It shows you are not trustworthy. That was the last man I saw that man. And he was a very strong politician. The man later became a member of the House of Rep. Very strong politician. Now in politics, if I have known, for what I know now, I will keep that to myself. At least wait until I become governor. Then I will give him serious appointment. It was foolishness for me to have let him know that I discovered him. So there are 2 different standards. You must have the ability to be able to combine the standard and the prestige that you are used to, the finesse that you are used to, and the roughness of politics. And that's a special gift from God. Finally, before I take the next question, let me also tell you this, that in politics, as different from the corporate world, you must really like people to hang around you, no matter their standard, because you need everybody to vote for you anyway. So you cannot begin to separate the good ones from the bad ones. So the ability to understand that politics again, the definition of politics is actually meetings. One thing that professionals always make a mistake of all the time is that once they come in with the idea that I want to contest to be a senator, I want to contest to be a governor, I want to contest to be a House of Rep. I can tell you straight away, the moment you come in with that, people will gather around you, all sorts of characters, you don't even know them, and they begin to take your money. Whereas the attitude of a professional or somebody coming from a corporate world or coming from whichever environment, you just be visible. Attend their meetings. Prepare to attend such meetings for some period of time. Over time, they begin to notice to you that you are more experienced than them. And then you begin to gather your friendship among them. Is that group that will eventually push you to be whatever you want to be. So for any professional that wants to go into politics, I would just say that, look, just go and show yourself. Provide the money for your visitation, that is, just show up. I start attending their meeting. Put in extra money in your pocket to take a few of them for lunch. It's not usually very much. A 5,000, take 3 people for dinner, and then provide such money. Do that for a couple of months before you start defining what exactly you can achieve with them.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for this insight.
Okay, let me ask this question.
So thank you very much for this insight.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to ask now, Pastor Pastor
Oluwajana.
Oluwajana. Can I?
Yes,
how
sir.
do we now, with this kind of, because I believe that it is politicians actually that mess up the economy because of the putting the round peg in a square hole. How do we now encourage the new generation to be involved in politics when we have seen that we don't have, I'm sorry, quote and unquote, more credible people in politics in Nigeria?
Yes, sir.
From what your
Yes,
experiences, average Gen Z and millennial will be running away from the crop of politicians we have. So how do we now encourage our younger generation to be involved in politics?
Thank you, sir. Let me quickly correct you, sir. Number one, putting the round peg in a square hole, that is the problem. Let me ask you a question. We have had so many governors. We have had so many presidents. How come we have not just been lucky once or twice to have a round peg in a round hole? That means that's a problem. In other words, over these years, have we really always been having bad people coming in? No. Even the good people, when they come in, they begin to change. For the reason I mentioned, that was why I started.
So what made them change, sir? What are those things that, is it just money that make people change when they get to a political office?
It's very, very complicated. I'm going to address the Gen Z later on. It's very complicated. Don't forget, when I started talking, it was for a reason. I was not talking out of context. When I was saying that over 90% are not in purpose. Many people are there because of their own dream. You think we can change in Nigeria. When you get in, you yourself will be changed. But if people have been able to define the purpose, unfortunately, because again, there's no standard. So for now, I don't want to give a picture that's so bleak that things cannot change. But it takes a lot of work. It goes beyond somebody saying that I'm a pure person. I'm a man of purity. I think I can make this run. I can really work this. If you are not, there can be one or two exceptions that are hidden in some corners there that are not too open. I'm not saying everybody is corrupt. There will be some few exceptions, only that there are not many. But let's look at what we have. What we have. Are we saying that born again have never been in government? They've been there. What did we get? If you are in purpose, let me start this impact program, sir, Pastor Oseni. You have been on this program for some time.
Yes.
The reason why you have remained constant is because you have discovered a purpose in it. Exactly. If you don't have a purpose, you would have been discouraged.
Exactly.
You would have been discouraged from the attendance, from what you are, but because it's a purpose, you are not looking for money in it. Yes. Are you get the point, sir? It's when people of purpose get in that is whoever gets right. Don't forget, can you remember the former chancellor of Germany? That woman was living a basic life in everything. And there are many of them like that. Simply because she was living on purpose. When you are on purpose, that is the only way. All this economy of purity, all this purity, have the right idea, I'm educated, and then I'll get it better. That is complete deceit. That takes me to Gen Z. As we speak, sir, how much we have some of them in government? Don't we have 30-something-year-old as governor?
Yes.
The man in Kogi, the man that was in Kogi before, how old is he? Haven't we had ministers? Are there no young men now? I don't want to start mentioning names that they belong to the Gen Z. The kind of life they are living, is it not even worse off than what the old people are doing? Why? Because what we are seeing as focus around us is completely out of the principles of God. I'm not preaching, but it's the reality that I've discovered. Until we're able to identify that You must have a purpose before going to anything. You are not looking at, yes, how I want to be, I want to make a living. I want to take care of my wife and children. If only I can be special advisor, if only I can be special assistant, then I will make money.
Okay, sir. So
it's a way,
yeah,
it's a way of making money. Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right, sir. So thank you for what you've said. You know, that leads me to this question. You know, when we look at countries like China, we look at countries like Singapore. These are countries that young people today in Nigeria they run to. These people have a standard. I was made known during the course of the week that before you can become a president in Singapore, you must have, I think, minimum of 3 degrees, husband to one wife. You should never have broken any traffic law. You must never be caught with maybe any drug issue. You know, it's a clean slate that even before election comes, they've been able to streamline. By the time you look at people that fall into this category, I doubt you have so many people that would meet the merit of this. So what am I trying to say? As a country, because of this merit, because of this standard, they've been able to manage, you know, having bad eggs or having bad hands to lead their government. Today, as a country in Nigeria here, how can we create a standard that would ensure that we have the right hands managing our economy? How do we ensure that we have the right hands surrounding? Because you made it known that even if you are the right person, sometimes you might have a cabinet or people bad heads surrounding you, and it might influence your decisions. How do we ensure that we have a standard, we have the right people surrounding the front runner to have better policies that are citizen friendly? How do we ensure this happens, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I'm trying, as I know that maybe a few people are listening to us, and I don't want to sound as somebody that is a pessimist. I don't want to end up discouraging people that want to go into politics from going there. You still have to. But let me say this first and foremost, that number one, it's going to take us a very, very long time. And from what I'm seeing, when I advise people, I tell them that, you know what, do your best within the square that you occupy. Just do your best so that at least you can live a less stressful life, you can live a happy life, you can live a fulfilled life. That is you as an individual. Influence your environment. So at least it may take Nigeria 200 years to get there. I don't have 50 years to live. So I've stopped complaining about Nigeria, and my expectation that things will change in another 23 years is very, very bleak. But what I've done is to leave a purpose within my area, and then leave God to decide if he has any role to play, any role for you to play in government. But once you get there, just maintain that standard. Otherwise, you also miss it, and your life becomes stressful. Now, I know that God will still prepare some people to go there. It was God that sent me there for a purpose. Now I mentioned that.
Yeah.
That purpose did not include that I should be a governor. He just wanted me to discover, and that's why I wrote that book, Politics and Man. I'm working on the second one now. To try and say some things, then I would have done my own role. Now you as an individual, all right, to go to government, God gave me that body one day. And the way God did it was to let me know that, look, you are here in Lagos. You are doing very fine. How many people in your village has been able to have the opportunity that you have had? How many people in your state had the same opportunity? So if everybody stays in Lagos, who will represent your people in government? That was what pushed me out. But God had his own plan to have given me that, kind of assignment. So you as an individual, if you are convinced that God has given you an assignment and it's truly from God, then what happened to me will happen to you, in the sense that God will fast track your movement. It will stress you that when I met Baba Chief Ade Farati, within 2 weeks, he appointed me, gave me that job within 2 weeks. Then, after that, when he left, Agagu made me the chairman of Ondo State Property Corporation. He wanted me to see what was going on there. So I went there. Again, I didn't know Agagu that closely until he called me. He called me himself and said, look, Kole, we want you to come and help us run our property corporation. The first answer I gave him was, oh, let me pray about it, sir. He said, pray, then please get back to me in another week. And he gave me that job. That left. Now, for me to be national vice chairman of APC, it wasn't my own move. It was Akeredolu who called me and said, look, I want you to go to the National Working Committee. The man in Lagos, the president, opposed it. Because his friend, Chief Elure, was the one that was national vice chairman before me. Now, who is called Oluwajana to confront Elure? The closest person to the president. But on that night, somehow he had to step down. The pressure was too much on him. He stepped down, so I went in unopposed. Not because of my political clout, because God has a purpose for me. Now, you as a person, if God has a purpose for you, at times I try to avoid preaching because that is not my focus. But everybody must understand that as a human being, you are made up of 3 things: your body, your soul, your spirit. God is spirit. God communicates with your spirit. So you must have a measure of divine relationship. So you know when the Holy Spirit is pushing you. If Holy Spirit pushes you, it will get you there, whichever that position is. So for me, that gives me a ray of hope. Maybe one day people will be getting there closely. But many people also get there and they get attracted by the resources they meet there. It's not easy to have billions passing through your account and you've never seen 100 million in your life. Of course, the first thing that will happen, unless you're under divine direction, is to see how you can take more money, and greed comes in. Forgetting, as this man put it recently, Bill Gates, he said, whether you're a billionaire or you are just a thousandaire, we all eat the same hamburger. It's the same food we are eating. Every that is additional. So if you are inspired by God, you can get there. Forget about all this fear. But for me, this Nigeria, we still have a long way to go. And that is why I discourage people around me from complaining about Nigeria. Because your complaint does not go far. Nobody is listening to you. Nobody hears you. I remember one minister, they were abusing him in the newspaper. So I now wrote an article to defend him. You know the shock I received? When I visited him in his office, he did not even know that they were abusing him in the newspaper. He was not seeing any of the copies. Obviously, his pressman was not briefing him. I can bet it with you. Many of them don't know the shout that is going on. That's the truth. So what you do as an individual? What you do as an individual is that, number one, make yourself available to use as you are directed by divine power. Number two, within your area, begin to make that change. So at you as an individual, you'll be satisfied that you have fulfilled your purpose. As to whether Nigeria gets there, that is for God to do. But using my human judgment, in the next 100 years, we're still far from it.
Thank you, sir. Let me quickly ask this. Bravo, please hold on. Let me ask you this question. Because you have said 200 years, and I know it's not only me that this 200 years talk we discourage. So I want to ask you now, sir, Pastor Kole, if, as a lawyer, if you have any power to change any of our law and constitution, which aspect of our law will you change that will enhance our participation in politics, and why?
Yes, very good question. And my answer was so difficult. Let me tell you why. The easiest answer for me is to say that, look, let democracy work. Let people have the right to make their decision. Let the votes of people count. That seems to be the first thing as far as choosing people is concerned. But you know what? I've discovered that the people themselves have been so impoverished in their thoughts that they will make the wrong choices. Are you getting that, sir?
Sir, the reason why they are making wrong choices, you and I know, because poverty has been weaponized by politicians.
That is why I'm talking of. That's why I'm talking of 200 years. I really don't know what aspect of law can be changed, that things will change all of a sudden. I don't want to canvass for a military regime, because the military man is also a human being who also changes once he gets there. And you get the point, sir. It's a difficult situation to be able to give a direct answer. But for the need of the moment, let democracy work. Let it work. Whatever is going to happen, and then we'll probably take it off from there.
From what you just said, so politics is very difficult to. Nigerian politics is difficult without corruption.
Yeah.
How do we now navigate that? How can we use the law to ensure that we have fairness at the phone?
No, the law is an ass. Let me explain that. That is why you have so much confusion in courts. Whichever law can always be interpreted. It depends on who is looking at the law. Maybe the thing I will pick after democracy is to pick maybe education will help. I mean, when I'm talking of education, meaningful education, let me explain. People who send their children abroad, the man on the street may abuse them. The truth of the matter is that many of them, not all, the way they think is different from the way we think. And I can see that in my children. What you wear, what you drive really doesn't matter to them at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And I think it's a major, as a matter of fact, if I give them anything freely, they are surprised. They were asking me why. In fact, they will laugh at me, Daddy, you must be a rich man. Oh. I remember I gave one of them a bottle of Coke. And she asked me, Daddy, you want to pay for this? I said, yes. She laughed. She was wondering why I should be the one to pay. So their reasoning is different because of the environment they are coming from. So that made me to begin to think that maybe education can really help. I'm talking of not these ones that people are buying certificates all over the place. Maybe the standard of education improves. Unfortunately, it's getting worse. That's one of the reasons why I'm talking 200 years. Maybe where we need to start from is the kind of education we have. But then this education we have, I'm sure you know the game that is on now, the argument about this University of Isuka, BC, whom they found out is not a professor. There's some argument. We are not even sure of the certificates of the professors and the certificate and the VC anymore. The education has gotten so worse. Maybe if you start building cubicles of better schools, maybe the values will change. Maybe the thinking of our people will begin to change. Mind you, in every gathering, at a cocktail, at a dinner, you can almost tell the person that is well educated among them. And it's the level of the dress they wear. Some will be showcasing the gold and the flashy dresses. But the thoroughly educated one that actually goes, the one that has gone to, I'm not saying all of them, there can be few exceptions, that went to Cambridge, to standard school, you will see the level, what they will display. Education counts a lot. Maybe that can make the change. Maybe.
Okay, sir. So you made mention about education, and that leads me to the question I'm going to be asking. So currently, Nigeria is becoming brain drain. And what do I mean by brain drain? We've had a lot of people that, people like your children that they've had opportunity to go abroad. They've been impacted with, foreign knowledge. But most of these people, they decide to stay over there. Or unlike, countries like China, all these Asian countries, where some of them still go back to their motherland to, use whatever they've been taught in a foreign land to use it to improve their country. How, if you've been close to most of our leaders, what advice would you give to our leaders today to ensure that the country is not brain drained, to ensure that those people that go abroad to study, they come back to the country, they have an environment that is conducive for them to say, oh, I'm coming back to Nigeria to incorporate everything that I've been taught. What advice would you give to our leaders to ensure that we have this kind of environment?
Mr. Adegoke, you know, when you have seen a lot and you have been inside, you are like somebody in the Yoruba parlance that you have washed your eyes with some medicine. So you are seeing things that others are not seeing. If you are not careful, you become mad. That is the level that I'm in. I've seen so much that I begin to even wonder that you should still put a lot of value on some of these people for you to think that they're thinking of what values they can add. What advice can you give somebody who himself is thinking of himself alone all the time?
Exactly.
I happen to know. It's the very sorry. I'm being careful. I don't want to get discouraged. I've gone from that level to the level of, let me just limit myself to people around me. Now, this thing I'm telling you is actually having a lot of effect. I will cite one or two things. People that are rushing abroad, their problem is more complicated than what we are talking about. Well, this is a close. This thing is not going to be placed. This one is not going to be. This discussion is not going to be on the social media. Am I right?
It's going to be on social media, sir.
It's going to be on our social media.
We are live as we talk. We are live.
All right. All right. The reason why I'm saying that is this. I know people that schooled abroad. They are back in Nigeria. They are facing the same kind of tension that we are facing, you and me that we are facing. They are not finding it easy, but they are insisting on staying because they know that there are too many opportunities here.
Yeah.
Those kind of people are people that have been able to identify their purpose. They are not people just looking for a good apartment, good car, and food to eat. Anyone that is thinking that way will still end up abroad. Nothing will keep them in Nigeria because the environment is not conducive for that. Next to me here, next to where I'm living, there's a flat, 8 flats in a building. Everybody in that building, they're all foreigners, Chinese, Indians, Lebanese. So a few of them are working for themselves. So I asked one of them, what are you doing here? He said, well, it's an agent is linking one trader from one country to another, China. He said he has lived in China. He has lived in Dubai. He mentioned about 4 other countries. He said he decided to choose Nigeria because he can do his business anywhere in the world. I said, why? He laughed. He said he's paying a rent of 4 million naira per annum. It's a 2-bedroom apartment. That 4 million naira is not enough to pay him for 1 month, wherever, another place in the world, where he ever lived. And he said that in a month, when he buys fresh fruits for $200, he doesn't finish them before the end of the month. That it would be foolish to live anywhere outside Nigeria. So I now asked him, what about security? He laughed. He said, can't you see that I've changed the burglar proof? So there's always prevention against anything, that will not leave Nigeria for anything. That's the man that is thinking. These boys, a lot of these people are not thinking. They're looking at the comfort in the land where they are going, not looking at the servitude and discrimination that they are facing there. That is one. Secondly, sir, all right, I'm trying to say that, look, all we need to do, you as a person, use every opportunity to let people understand. Don't forget that the world is a global place now. It's global. Nigeria is one out of several countries that can operate from by staying in Nigeria. But a lot of them are not well tutored to understand this. A lot of them have been wooed by the complaints of people around. They're looking at the problems in Nigeria as if it is peculiar to Nigeria alone. Government is a different thing. The problem of individuals is yet another. Are you getting the point, sir? You, Mr.
Yes,
Pastor Oseni, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Degoke, if you decide to leave Nigeria and you make the effort for the next couple of months to be out of this country, but you are not leaving. You are not leaving, you are staying on. Why? Maybe because you are discovering a few things that, look, I can make it. The opportunities are here, and I don't know anywhere in the world where you can be a poor man today and become a millionaire by tomorrow. It's only in this country. So separate the government. Separate the government. The problem of government is complicated. Is the values of many people are very low. Many of them, they pass the age of education, and you cannot force them out. They wheeze out. The only thing that concerns me now is that even the young ones that are coming, the young ones that are coming from behind, the standard they are displaying doesn't seem to be better than the one that we are seeing. So I would rather like to face the individual now than talk of the nation, governance, because you cannot. It's like computer. It's like a computer now. Those days, garbage in, garbage out. Are you getting the point, sir? There's nothing you want to teach a 65-year-old about values, and you want him to change his character overnight. It's going to be hard, and those are the people in government. Finally, the reason why I was asking whether this is not online, please find a way of editing. Now I mentioned the governor of Kogi State. I don't want to be sued for libel. I don't want to be sued for libel. Please look at that area and expunge that aspect if you can. But
okay, sir.
Okay,
what I want to do, particularly a pastor like Pastor Oseni and people like you that are opinion molder, let's begin to see. Let's think of people around us and their lives, and how we can make them to understand some things and be able to live and survive in this environment and have the right values. Maybe a few of them will get to government one day, and that will make things better. We are likely going to succeed with that than we want to change Nigeria overnight. I've seen enough to think that it's going to be very, very hard.
Thank you, Pastor Colin. Are you thinking about, because one of the reasons why we put this Impact 45 together is to be able to mentor the younger people coming. Have you think about mentoring people or people that are coming behind that will be able to shape in what we this 100 years starting from Broadway?
Yes, I've actually started a program that I call Rule and Reign. Rule and Reign. And I meet people once a month just to share. But my focus now, because again, I've asked the question again and again. Why are we facing this problem in Africa? Why are we facing it in Nigeria? And recent time, that was why I started by talking about purpose. Because I've discovered that that's actually what's going towards. I'm enjoying what I'm doing now. I'm not planning, working to become a billionaire. No, I want to achieve what Pastor Oseni is achieving. Have an impact. Communicate these things to people. And you feel satisfied. And lives are being touched. Let me quickly say this. That's where I hope you do me the honor of seeing what you want to put online. The reason is this. You can't possibly be close to me, and that includes my children. None of them is working for anybody. They can't possibly work for anybody because the way I talk, the way I influence them, they are surviving on their own, sweating it out. They're all schooled outside this country, but they are back here. And then one of them is working in his own area. And I believe, if you talk about the Nigerian problem before them, they don't want to discuss it. Not because their dad has money that's giving them. No, I'm not giving them a funding. But they are struggling it out. They are facing it. It's not easy. They also complain about NEPA bills, but they compare it to what they pay abroad. So, in a way, I've been able to achieve that with them. So I have this Rule and Reign that gives an opportunity to share with young men, trying to mentor them, understand that, identify God's purpose for your life before you decide to go into politics. Don't go to politics because you like the way the politicians are wearing their cap, they're going over the place. Many of them are living very stressful life. Forget about millions millions you are reading. Many of them are living very, very terrible and woeful life. You cannot imagine it. And their children are even point of torment to many of them. Why? Because they don't even know purpose. They're looking at the money and the wealth. Many of them, that is why you see some of their wives, they be wearing 25 karat gold. Who is still interested in that? Does that give you money? Does that give you peace? They are going after the wrong thing. You see some of them with 20 cars in their yard. I visited one former governor. I visited his house. I saw about 20 cars. Some of them come west and on those cars. And it's like, this guy must be a fool. It's only him that doesn't know that he's a fool because he blindfolded. I listened to one governor, a former governor. He's now a senator. And I was so disappointed in him. That is a man that's supposed to be educated. That is a man that had a functioning, a very good business in the industry before he went to politics. They were interviewing him, I think by Shanice. And the man was like, oh, he was ashamed to see a governor taking Uber, a former governor taking Uber. And I said, this man must be crazy. What is wrong with taking Uber, for God's sake? Don't people in UK, don't they take the metro?
Public transport, they take bike.
They take bike. And the man, of course, with gold cross on his neck, always looking. I said, this guy is a fool. Doesn't know he's a fool. And he was saying that, oh, it's shameful to see a former governor taking Uber. That is a thwarted reasoning. That is the caliber of people you are having. That is the caliber of people you are having. You go and ask people that have private place how difficult it is for them to maintain living ridiculous life. Why? Because of the values. Why? Because of they don't have enough orientation to understand that those are not the things that matter in life. But if you give people the right education, if you can influence 10 people, if you can influence 5, you've done well. The other 5, they begin to improve things around them. Even churches, are we doing better? You now see people, because of the position they occupy, you see about five protocol following them. One carrying suit, another one carrying Bible, another one carrying cup, because they also want to be like governor. I remember one man that they were praying for him. He said he took somebody to one anointed man to pray because that one wanted the political office. After they prayed for him, he also knelt down. That he also has something to ask from God. So the man asked, "What do you want?" He said, "He's looking forward to." I don't mention the position now, so they don't be tie it down to which mission. He also wants to occupy a position, maybe call it a state superintendent or whatever it is, that you pray for him. Of course, I was watching. I said, this guy is a fool. So the same mentality is running through the line. As well among the politicians, we also have it among our religious leader like Pastor Hosseini. They're also thinking of creating class, glamour all around them. Wrong values. Completely wrong values. Until that changes, we will continue to have this kind of challenge. It's not just economic. It's just through even when the money comes, we will spend it on the wrong things. So the countries you are referring to, China and Singapore, they have the right values. And therefore, every other thing will fall in place. You can only have good government. You can only have good economy in places that have the right values. Maybe that's something you should write down somewhere. You can only have good government. You can only have good governance in places where you have the right values. Where you don't have the right values, try, you continue to have challenges in places of power. You continue to hear strange stories every time, as we are hearing in Nigeria. But for you, people around you, let there be a change. Then those people will have the right perspective in life. So thank you, Sir Pastor Seni. There's that kind of mentorship thing that I have that gives me a chance to talk to people once a month. And I think we've just had about, I've had 2 sessions now. Then the 3rd session, just once a month, talk to them, give them a chance to ask questions. And I'm trying to do that to see, and it's free, to see how I can, just like you are one of those people that challenge me to come up with such program, so that I see maybe 1 or 2 lives can be touched, not just the children that the Lord brought to the world through me.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Brad, okay, your Do you have any final questions? Because our time is fast spent. Final questions.
It's fast spent. Yeah. No question. I think the question would have been on your program that you said is free. So, what was the mode of the program? If you can tell our viewers on this call about the program. So, I'm quite sure we have a lot of people that would want to be part of your program. So, Pastor Bankole, can you just tell us the mode of the program, when it happens, so people would know about it, if you don't mind?
Yes, sir. Well, number one, I try to let rule and reign. As I'm talking to you now, I'm trying to quickly bring something out from my phone. And the whole focus of rule and reign is just to assist people, and then like this kind of video discussion. So we have topics like discovering your purpose, and I said using the ostrich as a case study. We don't have time to talk about that. Creating a vision, bringing our dreams to manifestation, hearing from God, actors and spectators in the world, creativity and product development, training your mind, renew your mind, on and on. Of course, mistakes that youth make, and then roadmap to success, the 10 commandments of business failure, and on and on. So just share things like that, relationships, a couple of things. So like we normally have a discussion just like this for 45 minutes. Usually we have it early in the morning, because I also discovered that when you talk about purpose, for me, early morning is always very important for me. Early morning, God reveals your purpose in the place of meditation. So share with them, tell them how they should focus on their life. Stop focusing on Nigeria. You are not the one in government. You can't do anything for Nigeria, and you want to keep yourself hearing the bad news and repeating the bad news. Focus on yourself, develop yourself. In this country, there are more houses now being built than before. There are more houses. My environment, I live in Ikeja, Adeni Jones. My environment, recent time, new buildings are coming up in this same bad economy. Then let me give you this information. You know, as at 1960, Nigeria was providing more than 50% of palm oil in the world. 1960, as an independence. Of course, it's a common knowledge that Malaysia, Indonesia, they came here to pick their seedling. As of today, between Malaysia and Indonesia, they are supplying 85% of palm oil in the world. Nigeria is supplying 2%. We have left our purpose. We are pursuing other things. Even now, people are talking about going. If they say Nigeria wants to go to the moon, we'll be happy. Stupid thing for anybody to think of. So, sir, the whole idea is that we begin to direct. There are some young men. I'm saying young men, they're in their 40s, 50s now. They are making tons and tons of money in a Greek quietly. I won't mention names. Let me just end up by telling you this experience. There is a friend that makes soap. So his soap is so popular that people in Jamaica wanted that soap. They couldn't get it. So they now went to the Nigerian ambassador in Jamaica. That look, people are talking about this soap. We have written them. They have not even replied us. And I happen to know people behind it. So the Nigerian ambassador in Jamaica happened to be a friend, a lady. Somehow I made that to know that I know the people. So we now visited the company. And the man told us that his greatest challenge is palm oil. It was then I discovered that more than 70% of oil palm production in Nigeria are owned by foreigners. The UAC or the Labour Brothers, they are subsidiaries. They bought into those companies. So obviously they're using those materials for their own product. So this man at times could not get enough palm oil to buy. So he decided to go and get land so he could plant his own palm trees. So he made an effort. Of course, for someone like that, we need thousands of hectares. So he saw one, but he said he couldn't pay for it because it will affect his capital. So he decided to delay it for like a year or two. By the time we returned back to the place, Chinese have bought the land. Chinese are all over the place in our farmland. In the same place we complain about the Fulani herdsmen. Everybody is singing the song. Even man that doesn't have farm is complaining about Fulani herdsmen, as if things don't have protection. We look at things that make it impossible for us to achieve, we'll be complaining about it. And then we even depress ourselves the more with the bad news. These Chinese are all over the place, all our land. The Indians are not living. The Lebanese are not living. It's we Nigerians, because so many of us are looking for easy way. We just want to have, because we're not seeing 24 hours light. We want to have light. We want to have food. Then you go to a country where you'll be used as a slave. At the end of the month, you don't have $100, don't have $200. And then when it's about 5 years, you remortgage your house, bring the money here, and come and be planting your shoulders as if you have made it to deceive every other person. So I would say that let's see how far we can influence the individual. And you yourself, within your cubicle, I'm saying it again, there's no other country in the world. Sir, I have fallen 3 times in my life. When I say falling, I set up, when I left banking, I set up a financial outfit that collapsed in 1993. I sold everything that I ever owned. I refused to leave Nigeria. People that left Nigeria in 1970, this is not the first time people are leaving Nigeria. You forgot to say about that. In 1993, when the banks were closing and many financial institutions were in serious trouble and people were being locked, many of them left Nigeria. Some of them came back about 3 years ago. They asked me, what business can they do now? What business do you tell a 70-year-old man to do, 75-year-old man to do? There's no business anymore. You just go to where I came from. They are making the same mistake. They will come back some years down the line. So what you do is see how you can make the best of the situation for your life, discover the purpose of God for your life. It's very, very important. Expectation from government, don't deceive yourself, but make the best of the situation as it is. And that will be my counsel.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. You know, like I said.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. You know, when we started the program, I said.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, just give me an opportunity to thank Pastor Oseni. The reason why I'm thanking him is that whenever I have a platform to express my opinion and guide people, I value it so much. I also value what people like him are doing. I know what it is. It's not easy for him to have done this for years. I'm sure that moments would have been discouraged. The attendance, people's reaction, because Nigerians also don't like to learn. We like dancing. If Pastor Oseni is running a program now, there's a jamboree for Jesus, the church will be full all the time. When it comes to knowledge, you only get people that really sit down to learn. So thank you, people like you, encourage us in what we are doing. I really appreciate it. So, thank you so much for your leadership in this. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
I appreciate you, our daddy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And just to bring it, you know, to conclusion, thank you very much, Pastor Bankole. And once again, we say thank you to Pastor Adebayo Oseni for coming up with a platform like this. You know, like you said, Pastor Bankole, Pastor Adebayo Oseni is really involved in mentorship. He's so particular about, you know, improving the next generation, our generation, to ensure that we have better people, you know, better people to surround leadership, better people that will be involved in leadership. So we want to say thank you to both of you, and to those our viewers that you've been part of us from day one till today. We want to say thank you for making an impact, because whether you like it or not, our viewers, you are also making an impact, because you are encouraging us to ensure that we continue with programs like this by viewing it. And this is Impact 45 again. We want to say thank you, Pastor Adebayo Oseni. Thank you very much, Pastor Bankole. Thank you for today's program. And our viewers, in conclusion, thank you, everybody. Then have a wonderful and blessed week. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Bye, sir.
Yeah.